Yo, what's going on, boys? How you guys doing today? Welcome back to another new video. Today's build is going to be all about making big explosions that do a lot of damage and that we can spam a lot. So today we're embracing the gunpowder gamble and ignitions to make that ultimate explosive build. So if you like aggressive builds that have a lot of explosions in them, then this is going to be the build for you. So before we get into any of the other stuff, let's actually talk about the most important part of this build, which is going to be our exotic class item, because you're going to need one with the Spirit of Verity. Now, this is going to be the only way to actually do this build, since Verity is not even a hunter exotic. This is going to give our gunpowder gamble 100% more damage. Yes, you heard that right. Just straight up double damage with the gunpowder gamble. That extra damage is also going to affect the regular grenades, so even our grenades are going to be doing a lot of damage. And that combined with some of the other things we have on this build, mean that our gunpowder gamble is going to have a bigger blast radius, and also even more damage on top of it. There's going to be very few things that are going to be able to survive the juiced up gunpowder gamble. It's basically just going to be the big enemies, and even then they're going to get chunked pretty good. But anyways, let's get into it. So let's first take a look at the weapons we're running on this build. So first of all, starting off with that exotic weapon, we're going to have the Dragon's Breath. The Dragon's Breath is an amazing weapon that works very well with any build that involves ignitions, and this one definitely does, since gunpowder gamble is considered an ignition. So it's going to take advantage of all those perks that we're running to make our gunpowder gamble better, and it can even charge our gunpowder gamble since solar weapon. So any kills that we get with the ignitions from the Dragon's Breath or just kills from the Dragon's Breath itself are going to build up our gunpowder gamble. So it's just going to be like the perfect weapon for this build. It's going to work great against bosses, majors, champions, just a big group of ads. It's going to be fantastic, and it has some great synergy with the build. Now for our energy weapon, we want a solar weapon. The only requirement is for it to be solar and that you enjoy using it, because it's going to be our main weapon. And I decided to go with the best one currently, the Avarian Action, the brand new rocket assisted sidearm. This thing is going to be really good. We're going to be getting lots of kills with it, meaning that we're going to be charging up that gunpowder gamble really quickly. And besides, it's a rocket sidearm, so it's going to be pretty amazing no matter what. We're also going to be running on it the classic incandescent heal clip combo, and that's something that I would recommend as well, no matter what solar weapon you end up going with, because it's going to be really good. Heal clip is going to keep you alive in some of the tougher activities, and incandescent will make it so if something dies of Scorch, it charges up your gunpowder gamble as well. So this thing is going to be building up our gunpowder gamble really quickly, so we can use it more often. Now for your kinetic slot, you can use pretty much whatever you want. It won't matter to the build at all. I usually just end up going with an anti-champion weapon on my kinetic slot, so a lot of times it's been a pulse rifle. But like I said, it doesn't really matter, so you can go with anything in this kinetic slot. Now for the super that we're going to be running on this build is going to be the golden gun. It works pretty well, and also being on a solar super is going to help one of our fragments out. That's the main reason. Now for our grenade, we are going to have to use the swarm grenade, so the Verity perk can work with our gunpowder gamble. Without it, it won't work, so you do need the swarm grenade. It's also going to be pretty good once we start getting some of the stacks for our grenade to do more damage. It's going to be pretty good. Now for the melee, there's nothing really specific that you gotta run. You could run something like the snare bomb, the withering blade, you want some slow. I ended up running the thread spike to sever targets, but like I said, the melee won't really matter. Now for the aspects, we're going to be running Ascension and Gunpowder Gamble. So let's talk about the Gunpowder Gamble. Whenever we defeat targets with our abilities, with elemental debuff damage, or with our solo weapons, we're going to charge up the Gunpowder Gamble. Once it's fully charged, we can throw it and make a big explosion. Solo weapon kills only give you 1 stack towards charging of the Gunpowder Gamble, but elemental debuff damage and also abilities give you 3 each. So if you get kills with your abilities or with elemental debuff damage, you're gonna get it back much faster. The great thing about Gunpowder Gamble is that you don't need your grenade to be charged or anything like that. As long as you fully charge it up, you're gonna be able to throw it. And with everything that we got going on this build, we're basically gonna be able to spam it really quickly. Every time the cooldown is up, we're gonna be getting that Gunpowder Gamble in just a couple of seconds. Now for our second aspect, we're running Ascension. Ascension is going to do a couple of different things. The very first thing it does is that it amplifies us. It gives us a very easy way to get amplified. And with the seasonal mod, it gives us 30% damage resistance. It's also going to be a very easy way to apply Jolt. And a lot of times, just hitting your Ascension will be enough to fully charge up your gunpowder gamble, since that jolt kills enemies and just charges it up. So not only is it going to give us all that damage resistance, but it's also another way to get that gunpowder gamble back. That elemental debuff damage is just really good at getting back gunpowder gamble, whether it be the ignitions, the jolt, the scorch. We're just going to have a lot of different ways to actually get back the gunpowder gamble. Now moving on to the fragments, the first one we have is going to be the Facet of Ruin. This is going to increase the area of effect of our solar ignitions, so all our ignitions are just going to be bigger. Our gunpowder gamble and our regular ignitions. Next though, we have Facet of Balance. Whenever we get some kills with light or darkness damage, we're going to get back grenade or melee energy. This build is definitely a little bit more skewed towards light damage, so we will get more melee energy than grenade energy, but we'll still get some grenade energy. After that, we're going to have Facet of Hope. Whenever we have an elemental buff, our class ability regens more quickly. This is so we can spam Ascension a lot more, so we can keep our damage resistance, and also just jolt more targets. After that, we have Facet of Dawn, which is going to make us Radiant whenever we hit something with our power melee. Radiant is going to be pretty good. It gives all our weapons extra damage. Some of the weapons that don't have mods will get Barrier, and it also affects our Golden Gun, meaning that our Golden Gun is also going to be doing extra damage. And since we're going to have our melee up a lot with this build, might as well make it so every time we hit something with it, it makes us Radiant. Next though, we have Facet of Purpose. Whenever we pick up normal power, we're going to gain some restoration. And this is the reason why I kind of stayed on Golden Gun. It's just going to be an easy way to get some restoration and keep you alive. And lastly, we're going to have the Facet of Protection. Whenever we're surrounded, we are more resistant to incoming damage. And whenever we activate our Transcendence, that resistance is even higher. At base is 15, and while we're in Transcendence is going to be 25%. With this fragment, you're going to be able to tank more damage, so it just adds a bit of extra survivability. We definitely want survivability, especially if you want to be aggressive with your gunpowder gamble and your ascension, so that's why we have all those things that give us damage resistance and also restoration. Now for our exotic class item, we of course have the Spirit of Verity. Whenever we get kills with weapons matching our grenade, it's going to give us a stacking grenade damage bonus. It can stack up to 5 times, and that's when we get that 100% extra damage. That's why both our energy and power weapon are both solar, not only so we can charge up the gunpowder gamble faster, but also so we can get that stacking damage up whenever we kill anything. Now the other perk on your class item, it's not really going to matter. The main thing that you want is Verity, so as long as you have this, it's going to be good. But if you do have one with Spirit of Calavan and Verity, I would definitely recommend that you give it a try. Calavan will make it so anytime you kill things with your melee, it makes ignitions, and since we have a lot of things that improve ignitions, it just kind of adds a little bit more explosions to the build. Like I said, it's optional, you don't really need this, but it does give you a couple extra explosions. So now let's take a look at some of the mods that we have on the armor. First of all, for the helmet, we have Harmonic Siphon. This is going to work for both our sidearm and our Dragon's Breath, so we can make some orbs. We also have Special Ammo Finder, since we're using the sidearm as a primary, so we can always have ammo. And lastly, Ashes to Acids. Whenever we get a kill with our grenade, we get some extra super energy. For our gauntlets, we have Harmonic Loader, Firepower, and Momentum Transfer, so we can get our grenades back faster, so we can make orbs of power with those grenades, and so we can reload our weapons faster. For your chest piece, you're going to have the regular resistance mods. This is what I was running for this week's GM, since that's the last thing I was running. And for our gauntlets, we're going to have Ultra Restoration, Absolution, and then Solar Scavenger. Solar Scavenger is going to help both our special and our heavy, and then these are used so we can get our abilities back faster with some orbs. And lastly, for our cloak, we have Special Finisher, so we can get some more special ammo. Proximity Ward, so we can be safe while finishing enemies. And lastly, Distribution, but you could change this out for something else, especially since we are using our class ability a lot with the Ascension, and most of the time we're actually going to be using Ascension. A lot of these mods don't really work with that. But yeah, that's what we have for our mods on the armor. So these are the artifact mods that you want. The first one is Counter Energy. Whenever we stun champion, we get some energy to our least charged ability. Radiant Orbs. Whenever we pick up an orb of power, we become Radiant. This is going to be pretty good. We're basically always going to be Radiant thanks to this on our melee. Galvanic Armor is going to give us that damage resistance when we're amplified, so we're always going to have that 30% damage resistance. Solar Fulmination will make it so our ignitions do increased damage and in a bigger area. And lastly, Shield Crush will make it so our grenade not only recharges faster, but also deals increased damage, whether we're Amplified or Radiant. And we're always going to be either Amplified or Radiant, or maybe even both. So these are the mods that you want on your artifact. And with that, that's going to be the end of the build. You know the whole build now. Like always, I'm going to leave a dim link in the comments below in case you guys want to give this build a try. In case you want to become like me and embrace the ignitions and the gunpowder gamble. I really like this build since I love gunpowder gamble. I feel like it's a fantastic ability and it's just really fun, especially shooting out of the air and seeing a bunch of numbers. But even when you miss, you just landing somewhere and then you just wait a couple seconds and see a big explosion with a bunch of numbers, that is still very satisfying. Now this build, I would say that it's more towards mid-game kind of activities. That's really where it peaks. Kind of work in the end-game content like GMs? Yeah, it could. I definitely ran this week's GMs, but it's definitely not like the strongest end-game build. But with lacking strength, it definitely makes up for it in fun factor. This is a very fun build. So if you're kind of tired of just wearing the same build and you want something a little bit different, then definitely give this build a try. You definitely want to be a little bit less aggressive if you take this into the GMs, but thankfully you do have a lot of damage resistance as long as we're amplified, and we also have the restoration for picking up orbs, so we should still be able to be a bit aggressive, just not like in the middle of a whole group of bats type of aggressive. That will still definitely get you killed in the GM, so in there you definitely have to control your aggression a little more, but you could still definitely be aggressive. Anyways, with that, we're going to end today's video. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did, dislike if you didn't, subscribe to the channel in case you guys haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.